Hello, everyone. Today, this is Empty Turtle, and I'm here with Dr. David Jubb, and this is JUBBTALK. We got a good one for you folks. It's called, What is the Remedy? Dr. Jubb, what is the remedy?
It could be just that you've achieved an outcome. Like if you're listening, it's sort of often many of us sort of really have some outcome we would like to achieve, but we could look and see what is that outcome, basically. But ultimately, you'd say that it's probably about improving microcirculation, in fact. And
Microcirculation, okay.
And the things that we notice, women notice, is their erectile condition, or him too, and of course she has a lot more erectile tissue than he does, so they both have issues often as you get older, more or less, or not just getting older even, but issues with capacity for microcirculation. And so is it that actually most people kind of feel a bit dizzy, or they go to the doctors and stuff, and it's like complex things, isn't it? But basically what's going on is that when you're youthing, you've kept your circulation, and when somebody hasn't kept their youthing, it's could you say that it's a need for having improved microcirculation and a remedy, as we've you've titled this. Let's see. A meaning do it again. Medi meaning meditation. Something to mediate. Something to have mediated a symptom that you have. But what happens when you no longer have the symptom, you see? So most of these things are really just sort of only just for a moment, right? To have managed something. And a lot of those things are sort of like drugs, because the definition of a drug is that it's going to cause some physiological change and it can't be broken down itself. So that kind of is the definition of a drug.
Okay.
But what would you think, like, if you thought about it? There's popular sorts of compounds, right, that people are on, but most of it really is to do with congestion and clearing that away, actually.
Okay.
Or the effect of it.
Yeah, and basically also these compounds are being given, and they're not the solution.
What are some of the more popular ones right now?
There's metformin for diabetics, glipizide. Okay. There's also people with heart issues. There's losartan, potassium, and atorvastatin for heart.
And statin, yeah. So you've got a liver that's congested because of fats.
Okay.
And we could talk just a bit about that, because there is no circumstance which the liver has to have had metformin if it were given, because trans fatty acid and fatty acids themselves excess more, and generally somebody would have been put onto something like that because they have a HDL and LDL, high density lipoprotein and low density lipoprotein ratio that's a little off. And so low density lipoprotein that transports things away from the liver, HDLs bring it to the liver. And so they're just looking at, well, the liver's sort of transporting a lot of stuff away, but not transporting much to itself. And so that shows that microcirculation isn't really working in the liver as what it can, and it's because you've got arteriosclerotic plaque, and because some habits that have been, which we could talk a little bit about, because a remedy would be having achieved what the outcome is, and this program could be considered a remedy, in fact, itself, because you could be listening and thinking, well, there could be metformin as one compound you just mentioned. Another which popular would be like the glipizide, yes,
something like that,
right? And diabetes and these things, these are popular sort of drugs that have been given to people that are slowly becoming sort of diabetic, apparent. And then what the losartan.
That's
losartan is because potassium is really something very important, and it's being replaced by sodium, and that's bad. Rock salt which you could note that's toxic. The statin is sort of like to cause your blood to kind of have a bit of slipperiness and not get too whacked out with lectin. And lectin is sort of partition of food stuff and skin and things which is sort of indigestible, part of the, and then when that's in excess, where someone's eating things, it's sort of really, or they've got bigger pores in their intestinal tract and it's letting larger proteins pass through. But these are all things that clog and block the body, and it's sort of like, oh, well, I've gone to the doctor because I actually would care to have proper circulation. But if it could be put to be like that, everything that you and I do, where we're fit and everything is happening, a flow is occurring, like your shoulders are really nice and relaxed, arms are relaxed, the breath is relaxed, and the heart is really nice and relaxed, and that you're asking yourself more kinesthetically, how am I feeling more? You see, and you're choosing something which is more like in a state of play or flow. But okay, in a neutral ground, you could look at things, couldn't you? And then, like, would you say that a remedy would be first that someone has to be in a visiting frame? It's like you're going to put a framework around how you're going to look at anything in life, and is it better that we are more in a gamma state ourselves, which is sort of like a sound of a flute, really, very fine, but extremely fast, of course. Massive amounts of information can be processed, but we have a flat wave more. It's called an epsilon wave. It happens every 11th second, by the way, where someone more has a brain state this, but otherwise it's missing. And then you've got a lambda wave as well, which is below theta, yeah?
Okay.
And does that show up in your brainwave? Well, these often with electro, myographs and encephalographs and things, looking at wave function. You've got a PQRST complex, and you can tell a lot of things from the PQRST complex because that wave, which is in nature, you've got a PQRST complex, and you've got a sodium-potassium pump, and energy is flowing or not. And so this is also to do with circulation. So the whole area for everyone could be reduced down to 3 steps. And now you're going to stick with the program because you're actually got something which you've got to progress toward, versus, I've got just a pill in the cabinet, which, as you would imagine, it's a little weak sort of thing, right? And shouldn't someone, if they are managing now, there is no more trans fatty acid. The trans fatty acid is really an essential fat, like omega-3 or omega-6. Omega-6 especially, because they're involved in inflammation radically, all right? Now, you only need 2% of trans fatty acid in your diet, 2%, and you're going to have like at least a 32% more chance of morbidity.
That is not
it's radical.
A lot of,
no, it's so dangerous, matter of fact, you see, because we never had those fats cooked, or we never had those fats, period. But all of them are oxidized,
when
you
did
see.
we start running into the trans fatty acids? When did they start?
More so in the 1900s, the early 1900s, because flesh came to be more apparent. And somebody felt, I'm wealthy and the wealthy people eat flesh, so I'm going to chow down on a bit of lamb butt or something, you see.
I love lamb butt.
So lamb butt is a good example because you've got omega-6 and omega-3 fats in that, especially omega-6 fats, and it's cooked, but once it's dead, it's oxidized. You see, so it's not going to be not oxidized. It's going to be more radically altered by heating and things, of course. And so now you've got you've got an essential fat, which has kind of got a head on it. It sort of kind of fits somewhere, but it doesn't. So it's like a stone in a wall, which isn't designed to hold up against an earthquake, sort of thing. You see?
Gotcha.
So it sort of falls apart.
Yeah.
See, so structure, when you're born, the amniotic sac that you're born, it should have a very good structure, but often it doesn't. You can put your fingers through domesticated people's placenta, which you shouldn't be able to do.
I had no idea.
If you've got wilderness inside you, you absolutely cannot put your fingers through the placenta. No. It's very, very strong.
I don't remember any of my time in the sac. What do they call it?
In the amniotic sac.
Yeah. I don't remember any of that.
No, of course. You don't remember your birth, so you're committing perjury when someone says, "What's your birth?" and you say that you're the witness of it.
Can't be.
Well, somebody else was, you could say that, but you could know when you came of age and that is your birthday. That's an actual birthday.
And that's 6 years old.
No, typically sort of in law and things today, it's sort of between 18 and 21, depending on where someone is.
Okay,
yes?
So that's your real birthday. So I can take 21 years off my age.
Well, yeah, you should when you're because that was when you became of age. It's not like because somebody says, "What's your birthday?" You're a witness to this. You're committing perjury when you said that's your birthday, but you could be the witness of it. You're not the witness of it. You see, it's just contextual that everybody said that was when you were born, and we'll go along with that. That's
Rules
pretty good.
That came about before I even came about.
But getting back to having got rid of metformin and glipizide and Larsatin, I think you said, and then statins also are things. So could somebody clear all of that away by, stopping the onslaught of what caused that?
Well, if you stop the onslaught of these pills that you're taking, you die of the original thing that you got those pills for, right?
Maybe, yes.
Sure.
Perhaps, but you could die of the pill itself.
Yes, definitely. It's a lose-lose situation.
Well, yeah, probably. These things are only designed for a moment in time where it is, and it's a shame that everything went to be sort of dead and not something enzymatic. But these things could, in ourselves, have a positive value to be moved more toward sixth generation product, which is micronized and it's in its osmolytic state, so it's just going to be passively absorbed, and it's with a tiny little platform which is sphingosine and ceramide, and so it's been compounded, and you've got a molecule which easily absorbs across the mouth, and it's natural, and so because it's supposed to be complex with RNA and DNA, which comes from your own parotid gland, these things are so important, but you can't bypass nature by having a hollow piece of fencing wire, for instance, and thinking you've improved upon babies by holding that needle up.
A syringe?
Well, doctors hold syringes up, but a chef could be holding an apple up outside the door there of the kitchen and be saying they've improved upon the apple.
Anyways, the point, the remedy is by taking our pills every day. That's just a remedy, and the remedy is not going to cure you.
So, but what would it be if you were able to increase neurotransmitter?
That would help, wouldn't it?
Well, for microcirculation, you definitely need neurotransmitter. So if you increase neurotransmitter, what happens, for instance, you've got a nice amount of dopamine.
You increase your health.
Yeah, when you've got dopamine, how do you know that?
You feel good.
You feel good, but what else? At the end of the day, you're looking back.
Good. You look good.
Yeah. So dopamine kind of makes people feel good naturally, but then that's in a short supply. And if it's in short supply, what happens to someone?
Home and you drink some beer, you smoke something.
It can be habit consumptive types of things, conditioning, because like where somebody has to fidget, right, and they're got to move around, they've got to always move, yes, hyperactive, it's because dopamine isn't present.
Oh, how do we get it?
And so somebody's sort of restless all the time because dopamine isn't present.
What's a natural way to get it?
Well, dopamine really, you need pantothenic acid in the production of it, and most people, what they say, what's that? That's B5. But you need B6 pyridoxine, you need B17, you need certain molecules which help keep the body clear and clean and help also coupling and decoupling go on so that, DNA can be kept in its good stead. But stimulation to a normal state is really what you could feel has happened because you could be thinking success has occurred and you're looking back. So we're sort of taking a view a little bit like you're sitting in the future, let's say, and you're looking back and you've had success. And how did it happen? You had a visiting frame in the way you looked at everything. And so that caused you to sort of be in a resource state and you were in your frontal cortex far more. Okay, that's pretty good. So you've got a resourcefulness. It's called visiting because that's what happens when somebody comes to the door. You sort of open it, you go, hey, you see, you've raised your voice. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. And so you're actually
more open. Yeah,
right. Oh, wow. Incredible. That's right.
Yeah.
And so this is an original state that we have. And if you're going to go further in, you've got to feel like you've got a bit of a trust about the whole circumstance of what you do. Oh, wow. No, I did that because why? Well, I saw that what was important and what was real, I could deal with and sort that out with habit and change behaviour. And that's what happened when I look back. I saw that, you see. So it was sort of like a logic all of a sudden was starting to take place. But Jubb cell rejuvenation and the formulas that are made, every single one of these increases dopamine, you see. My background is more as a neurobehavior physiologist, and most people go, well, yeah, you're about the brain, but I was sort of talking about people's gut, and they go, are you I was thinking we were talking about behaviour. I was thinking, well, I'm sorry, but it actually really does have a lot to do with your gut.
Yeah, I mean, if your gut feels good, you feel good.
Yeah, so if you put things into 3 sections, it's like 1, 2, 3. The first would be the great river that you have, which is your digestive tract. You have to get that in order, and that's gutting the mind to mind the gut and everything that relates to this.
Okay.
And so that's the first step that you do, because now you're going to have neurotransmitters, you're going to have dopamine. You go, whoa, I feel good. Okay, and you're going to have serotonin, you're going to have norepinephrine, and you're going to have acetylcholine, and acetylcholine makes you feel orgastic.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Well, a little bit before that is
sometimes,
is actually,
not really.
Well, a little before that is how a natural state is.
Good, right?
Well, yes, because you can't better that.
Okay.
You see, someone's trying to better it all the time. And so meditation is a meditative state. So it's sort of really not like, oh, wow, you're down, or Jesus, you're all blissful out type of thing. No, it's sort of really more meditative. That's bliss itself versus blissful or being, sorrowful sort of thing. It's sort of, no, it's sort of like a meditation.
Reminds me, I need to take a gummy later.
Yeah, the gummy bears, because CBDs are amazing, triggering and assisting to help serotonin and dopamine, norepinephrine and things. So now you're thinking about things which is more, can be broken down. Yes, it can be. It's not a drug, you see.
Yes, that's right.
So, but where a lot of these things are, but basically when dopamine would have been low, you would have noticed that someone's always triggered to have had a state of hyperarousal. Where somebody's not really listening to you. Do you notice that they're just all over the place? I'm
noticing it right now.
Yeah, they're all over the place, you see. And so constant seeking of attention sort of thing goes on where someone is in a state of this.
Dopamine?
Exactly.
Okay.
And what else? And so you see them restless legs, shaking the legs all the time.
It's not the syndrome.
Well, if you're looking at somebody that's shaking their legs and you're thinking to yourself,
They need some
is this
dopamine.
person somebody that you might be, have employed?
Okay, so
you
let me
might
ask
maybe
you.
wonder about that because the person's going to be obvious. They're going to be late for work, not going to get things done. They lack
Really?
dopamine.
Okay.
Of course, it's a
So
decrepitness.
so
When you fidget and you can't sit still,
And some
everybody
people
who
have
knows
natural-
this is not going to hire you
and
for
some
anything.
people have
God
natural
help us,
levels
no.
of dopamine. How would you increase your dopamine so you can get hired?
You're correcting your Brunner gland,
Okay.
which is the largest gland in your body.
I have no idea. Where is
but
it?
you could have a little job product, for instance, which is osmolytic, and you could learn what's osmolytic.
Where's the
in
where
your
is
life.
that gland you were talking about?
Oh, the Brunner gland is all through the duodenum and the jejunum and ileum, which is the small intestine.
Okay. All right.
so-
Small intestine. Okay.
Yeah, how many feet is that?
26.
Yeah, it's like
What?
22, 26 feet or
All
something.
right.
I mean, that's a
That was a
lot,
guess.
isn't it? It's a lot.
That is a lot.
It is.
And there's
It's-
no way.
It's a massive,
How
massive
do I look so skinny
area.
with 26 feet of piping all up in my gut?
Partially, of course, which we could talk a bit about, of course, microcirculation has a lot like what you're pointing out to do with lipoprotein A being laid down inside the artery. So when you're eating flesh, you're eating massive amounts of methionine as an amino acid.
Uh-huh.
If you eat beans,
Yeah.
and you put bean into everything too.
I love
wow.
beans.
You have massive
I love
amounts
them.
of methionine. If you put like a massive amount of carbs all cooked up and you combine those things, you see, now you're going to have lectins really bad. You're going to absolutely have to deal with trans fatty acid, which it's radical, not minor. You're going to have a massive amounts of phosphate, which what does it do? It causes cement.
Okay.
You see, and it's preparing you for the cemetery.
Oh, no.
You see, that's what that is. It's a cemented. You become cemented.
Okay.
So we cemented ourselves. But if we don't do those things, do we need metformin? Do we need all these things? No. Because why? Because you've eaten a diet which is potassium. Is there any potassium in the food you've eaten? No. It's too acid. It's all the potassium is cooked. Potassium in nature has 19 north negative and 18 south positive. So
What are you
it's
talking about? Neutrons?
you've got a condition where nature is very perfect. It's designed potassium to be able to have a spare north negative or not. And it's very important about it get across a membrane.
So eat a banana a day.
Well, if you don't do potassium that's come from nature, how are you going to heal yourself?
Well, I mean,
Do you know what I mean?
Okay, but
No, potassium is
best
very important.
way to get it, a banana.
Fresh
Banana.
fresh sources of food.
Okay.
Where you eat plant-based food and you've actually prepared it in a way to still keep some enzyme value in it, you're going to have potassium because it's potassium-based. It's not sodium-based. Okay. When you eat flesh, beans, things like that, put a lot of sodium in there to actually help the whole thing out. But a lot of it's all rock salt and it's going to be deposited in the body and it can't be moved. It's like it creates scaliness on the skin.
Why does it taste so good then? If it's so bad for us, shouldn't it taste bad?
No, it should taste good when you put a bit of ocean wind evaporated salt on
Talking
something.
about the meat.
It helps it digest.
Talking about the beef.
It helps a bean or something digest.
But the beef,
Without
the steak,
salt, you can't digest it.
the steak tastes so good. Why does it taste so good if it's so bad for us?
Well, having orgasm too many times might be maybe not right.
Yeah,
it feels good.
Okay.
Going to bet and gamble all the time, it feels good.
Yeah.
Eating in the morning like bacon and eggs because it feels good.
Sure does.
Right?
Yep.
Yes, because why does it feel good?
I don't know.
Yes, because you're craving.
Okay.
Why are you craving?
Because you're hungry.
You don't have dopamine. And so why don't you do drugs to get dopamine? That's what's going on. People are drugging themselves to have dopamine.
So-
all right?
But you're saying there's a natural way to get it.
Well, why do you need dopamine? No.
I don't know.
Yes, you need it because you're eating flesh.
That's why you need dopamine
Hell yes.
to eat flesh.
Well, it's robbing everything so you can't have dopamine.
Oh,
No, you've said goodbye. I don't want dopamine when you eat heavy protein and carb together. No, this is like abnormal. Nobody ever did that. Could I just tell you that, do you see anybody in nature like a horse cooking its food before it eats it?
Nope. Maybe a dragon.
Well, no, I don't think so. What about an insect?
Maybe bee.
No, there's no insects that you see having pots and drinking out of cups.
Okay.
This is an aberration. Okay. Are you supposed to get your water from?
The lake.
Fruit.
We don't get our water from a lake.
No, you get your water from your food.
Okay.
And what happens when you get your water from your food? What happens when you don't get your water from your food?
I don't think that's enough water.
Right.
It start cramping.
Would there be water different, do you think, that's inside an orange, fresh squeezed, or something like julienne blended? Do you think that actually there's something in that? What happens when you leave it? Does it just settle? Yes, it does. And guess what? Now the B17 doesn't work as much. When you cook something, there is no B17 because it's zeta potential. It's got a magnetic field.
You got cooked out.
Exactly. So when you improve your focus, you've got more follow through with a program. So that you go, well, I've got to gut my mind and mind my gut, and then I'm going to move on to the lymphatic system in my mind. I can see that. And now my microcirculation is going to work. You see? And you've got compliance where someone is in their healing, and it can take 6 months of them working through something, and you touch base after you've gone through a clinic or something, but they've got you off all of those compounds which are toxic. Because can you continue to survive if you do not detoxify yourself is the question.
Eventually, no.
Yeah, so all the product, which I have really, our whole food vitamin mineral complex is every single one of them, and for unique purpose and things. But if you need motivation, somebody needs to be more motivated in life, you see.
Get some dopamine.
Somebody's tired all the time.
Dopamine.
Right. Or if they've got moodiness for sure, you see, they're very moody.
Get some dopamine.
That's right.
That's a T-shirt. Get some dopamine.
And what sort of disappears when you consume life colloid? You see, all of those symptoms clear away because it's just a very small amount of life colloid, and it's got 130 species of gene in there. And all of a sudden you've got all the enzymes that you need, and so you don't have an allergy anymore. Plus, you feel like complete more inside yourself, so you're not craving. So where somebody's behavior-wise, because addiction is behavior, it's good. So we eat, of course, because it's social, but then we eat because of the time, and these things are external. That's not internal. We should eat because you're hungry inside more, and that gets triggered a little bit more. But you also should feel the benefit of feeling hunger because human growth hormone is being released whilst you feel hunger. And it's only being released whilst you feel hunger, you see.
I think eventually dinners will just be a pill and a glass of wine.
No, it won't be, because you've got things that's there that are like 12 factors that you should understand in culinariness.
A couple of pills?
No, well, colour, fragrance, the heat, the
you need all that too.
The acridness, the tartness, the bitter. How much fragrance exists in the food.
The social aspect.
If it's creamy, the texture of it. We're talking about if it's astringent, it puckers sort of thing. Is it sweet? Is it salty? Is it oily? More? Is it pepper? Okay, so now these are
So you can't replace a meal with a pill.
No, these are all things which you've got at least 7 of these things crossed over, like I just said. You've got an adaptogen. It means that it's going to bring your body back into balance.
I like that.
So what are some herbs that do that?
Weed.
Rosemary. Okay. What's another one?
Cilantro?
Yes, cilantro is a very good one. Aromatic herb, because that's missing, isn't it? Because you need aromatic herb to make dopamine and serotonin.
Okay.
You have to make it from tryptophan.
Now we're getting it. So turkey's good.
It's dead.
It's got tryptophan.
We just said that when you cook something, it's fallen in the glass.
Okay, so no tryptophan.
If you don't cook it and it's just left, all of a sudden it's sediment at the bottom of the glass.
That's what you got to eat.
No, it's actually what's actually suspended. in your brain.
Oh.
So we're teaching actually what's occurred, that somebody's had success, but you could see that you've got to have something fresh. You can't think everything cooked. Nobody's going to ever survive on just cooked stuff unless you have a very modest amount of it.
Look,
and now you live
towards
you live on top of you're having a modest amount of food.
You know what? Our dinners, our meals today, 100, 200 years from now, they're going to look totally different. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be, maybe we're going to shine a light in our face, right? Take a couple pills.
No, you're going to have microgreens today, and you're going to start to have microgreen. You're going to start to actually have food that's not cooked. You're going to start to not just eat complex, huge amounts of carbohydrate that's all cooked up and dead and enzyme resistant, so it cannot be broken down. And you're never going to combine it with a heavy protein. Why? Because you're going to have somatostatin, and when somatostatin is there, it shuts your tummy down. Now you're going to have neurotransmitters after that? No! You're going to feel restless like crazy. Trust me.
We're around playing dopamine.
But we're talking about a remedy. You can see that somebody did some cleansing and things like that, and it just happened naturally because they got the information right, and they were able to clear away all the drug part of it because it was truly disastrous, and they didn't need it anymore. You see.
Okay, so we know that taking our pills is not the solution; it's just a remedy. Repeat daily, and you do that until you die.
Getting your pancreas to function and flow is the answer.
So what is your cure? If you don't want to be taking these pills, you got to find your cure, right?
Well, when you eat live food, you're bringing in things. You're bringing in magnesium in a monatomic state. It's not, and it's in an orthophilic state. You have to learn what's orthophilic. It's just like you just have to note that a mineral in a petal of a rose is different from one that's just from your bumper bar that you licked or something to get chrome or something. You see.
So it's not the same.
No, it's not at all. Something is more orthophilic and something is just mind, and it's not an element.
And we want orthophilic.
But we get to do a bit about that in the future moment. But like what you did was just to consume live food more. You only are monophasic. You're not triphasic, like eating 3 times a day, twice a day. Like, well, this is way too much because no rest for the wicked. You see, you have to have rested. And when you walk around, it's like 2 hands clapping. It's like 2 hands squeezing and getting the grease off. One hand, the other hand's helpful rather than just running it under a tap. You've got to not get anything. And so when the intestine touches itself as you walk around during the day and it's completely emptied out, now the brain's going to function. You're going to really like have a younger brain versus this person by the age of 32, they've already got an old brain and it's slowed down and their reflexes are slowed. And they've got all these conditions which you need a remedy for, but it's actually that what we're talking about is more relates to this.
So the government should come up with a forced starvation period, right? To where we are forced to starve, and that way we can get down to 1 meal a day.
Yeah. It's difficult to use the language of a meditation where someone has this pattern. The words that come out always is force, of course, which you could listen and hear those things where you are. But what's of a relative path of least resistance versus most is something just natural because suddenly there is no more self-inquiry. Nothing is needed, and so something has fallen silent more versus it's keeping rattled, and I have to move my legs and look around and notice everything, and I don't know that I don't need my eyes to hear. I could be using my eyes for something to stay focused where I am, but I could be listening to something. But where people will turn to look when they can hear, but like, okay, well, I mean, might there have been a reason to keep your focus where you were? And so a strategy really of a neural efficiency is sort of just getting from A to B versus having to go to C, D, and E, and F to get to B, from A to B sort of thing. So you're reducing the amount of what's needed, because there isn't anything needed too much. But like behavioral things is really like what you're talking about more, because information can be instantly gone in. And so, for instance, trust exists that something here is very important, and so now you've focused on an outcome, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, what was it that I'd achieved? And it was having never had any of those pills again, because none of those things were necessary at all. Where a thyroid one might be, and there's different things that you could, but unless somebody is in a clinic and they've got a little bit of looking at all things that's like this, there could be something which body became dependent upon a bit. But how can you clear most things away, and can you reduce the effect of something that has been, and this sort of thing? But basically, the whole thing is really detoxing and thinking about it in a bite-sized chunk. Getting one piece at first, it's like minding the gut and gutting the mind by getting your digestive tract to function again and getting the pancreas to work. It just means, having corrected all the habits, of course, and now the lymph can open up. Caster packs and various things can be done, and you're sort of really actually ongoing way of doing this. But in your brain, you're opening up the lymph after this because you've got your digestive tract functioned. Your lymph starts to open up really good, and now circulation comes back to be. But you cannot get to circulation if you haven't gone through the big river and then the second river, and now you're going to get to the really small river,
so if you
the great river.
If you keep eating the old way that you've always kept eating, don't expect a cure.
Well, iodine, iron, silica, boron, vitamin C, B1, B2, B6, B5, of course, B9, all these are supposed to be a whole food vitamin mineral complex and not an isolate. USP isolate is an analog, and because it'll have an effect on a membrane, it's called a vitamin, but it's an analog. They're all isolates. For instance, to give you an example, when you find vitamin C in nature, you see micro amount of what the thing is, but you see a lot of other substance which acts as vitamin C. But you've got these ascorbate molecules, like we just talked about, esters and polyphenols and all sorts of things, and molecules which assist with methylation. You only can have those if they're in an uncooked state. B17 is destroyed when it's cooked, and how can you have B12 after that? You can't, you see? And so having dopamine requires you to have phenylalanine, which is an aromatic herb, tyrosine, which is aromatic, and it's the aromatic amino acids which absolutely is missing in the membrane and causing people to have cystic fibrotic types of situations, you see, which is craving, which is constant need to seek attention, constant need to actually have to stimulate yourself, you see, to actually function, because otherwise what's going to happen? You're going to feel like falling asleep. It's like, oh my God, I feel like I need to fall asleep, and you're fighting that, you see? Yes? And so, people will move, shake their legs and things.
Maybe that's one thing that I do right, is I don't fight falling asleep.
Well, B12, like we just said, comes from B17. Cobalamin, which is B12, really happens because you've got live food and you've got enzymatic activity. And B17 starts out and it's got this zeta potential. If it's cooked or it's left slow but sure, it no longer has a potential to get inside the cell membrane to help heal DNA. And that's what these life colloid do. Ubiquitin 1, 2, and 3 are my specialization, which is really all the formula that I have are all about ubiquitin molecule and upstream cleaning, meaning you got to go to the DNA.
What's your favorite live food?
I think probably arugula is the most favorite taste.
What is it?
Arugula.
Yeah, what is it? I've heard of it. I don't really.
That's the wildest, most amazing green, a microgreen, honest to God, that you could ever have, and it's so flavorful.
Is it like a mushroom?
Peppery. It's like a peppery flavor, and I'm telling you, I don't know. I mean, I actually crave that, and I have a small amount. Okay.
I think there's a singer, a pop singer, his last name's arugula.
But you've got all these vitamins that's in it, which is incredible. Cobalamin has to come in this way from having amygdalin, which is B17, and it has to be in a live food state. Yes, and so in the last section of the ileum, you've got a cold processedness, and otherwise you've got a lot of laminated debris, sort of that goes into the intestine, and it kind of doesn't come out. So you see, yeah, it's really a tough one.
Is that what's making me fat?
Well, the waste isn't just fat, of course, because the waste first is a lot of gas, which extension, but also then water retention too. Okay. And it's actually like a lot of water and gas, but then you've got, the average man who's consuming, for instance, flesh has 5 pounds always, never not, of a rotting amount of flesh in the stomach.
My waste is not making me fat. What you're saying is I'm making me fat.
Where someone has cachexic state, like they could rest under the shade of a crowbar at the beach.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And they eat like a racehorse. We know people like that.
Been there, done that.
But then, you've got people who don't eat anything, and if they put their clothes outside the window, it's going to block the light.
Well, guess what? And we're about to come up where everybody eats like a racehorse. And what happens? They fall asleep because Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yes, well, you see, actually, it's a great one that you're listening, you hear like what celebration is. After people have eaten, what happens?
They go to sleep.
They go to sleep.
So that's when you attack.
The nervous system.
When you attack.
So the nervous system has to be healed more, to get that Jubb cell rejuvenation is sort of really.
I think I see what's going on here. China, the 100-year war against America, they're making us hungry and fat and obese, and they're going to attack the day after. No, not even the day after. The evening of Thanksgiving. Right?
Well, someone always planned like a Pearl Harbor. That's right. Wherever you look, you see lots of things which, like Pearl Harbor, for instance, you point out, the Hawaii's in the Pacific, and this year coming, 2025 sort of thing. It's, these are things as a story, isn't it? But it's true somewhat that the demonocrat, for instance, are the only ones that's ever started a war, and Republicans never did.
Really?
Never. You could tell that here's one side that doesn't want to do that, but you've got Abel Gate, haven't you? An Abeline paradox. We jump into things which we have no ability to be able to handle disagreement, but we've only got disagreement because we never made those rules. We don't agree with the rules, but we're abiding by it because we can't fix it, sort of thing, or we don't know how to fix things. It's like what we're talking about a little bit, but you'd have to note that a monopolization exists, and it's not popular opinion, as you could see, is going to happen, and it's not, you see. So something else is going on which is causing people to be parasitical, and like, for instance, like an ant, which it doesn't sleep with the regular ants, and it goes up and it actually parks its backside, so it's mooning the moon.
What?
And then it bites on. Well, it has to bite onto the end of the leaf, and it sort of parks itself up, so it's getting moon on its bottom.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And it feels good. But
I'm gonna have to try that.
But and it sees a few other ants that do it as well. And it comes in the morning, and it goes, oh wow! And they say, "You ready for work?" And all the ants are all marching off. And go, "Oh wow!" It's like, I said, "What's up with you?" And they said, "Well, my jaw's a bit tight." And I said, "Well, what happened?" I said, "Well, I had a bit of a favourite thing. I sort of went out last night, with Nicholas and Mary and Ralph, and Eva was there too, and Kim was going to join us, but he's halfway there, but we moon the moon." I said, "Moon the moon?" I said, "Yeah. Well, it has to, you have to hold on through the night with your mandibles." I said, "Well, that's a bit strange, isn't it?" "Oh, no, feels good, feels good."
Strange to ants.
You see, feels good. And now what's happening, you don't know it, do you? You see, a parasite has taken over your brain. Trust me. No, it has. And it's this weird thing, but what's gone on is your brain has been parasitized, yes, and behavior changed by the
food
parasite, the prion.
And who's the prion?
It's calcium phosphate stone, which is made out of nanolife colloid and other things, which it wants you to go somewhere and does not want you to do the things you're doing. So you're split. You've got a bit of a conflict having gone on. This is a typical thing that's happened to most everybody. It's not like, oh, well, no, this is not happening to me. It's like, please, excuse me. Okay. It sure has.
I get it now. Mother Nature, our planet, is controlling us through what we eat.
No, you're controlling your own self. You're the source of it. And I know that Christians might think they're not, and all these other religions, because you're only taught to be a subject, which you're not the source, which isn't going to be caused of you to have language like, wait a minute, I'm more the source of things within my own self. But let me think. So the parasite caused itself to become in the ruminant of an animal, which it needed to be.
What is the ruminant?
Well, a cow came along and munched on the grass, and voila.
Was that part of the skin?
Well, the parasite needed to get into the stomach of an animal.
Okay.
And it had to park you, and it used your body to get itself into the ruminant of an animal.
All right.
Yeah. Have you ever held a cordyceps?
No.
No? Okay, so well, that's like it going to use your tissue to grow into its own self.
Really?
A mushroom is cordyceps. So it's got a property to be able to interact with biology, life, and mineral, and it's got the capacity enzyme-wise to assist you with your endocrine gland because of this and that sort of thing, because it's got substance in it. But if you get rid of all the laminated material and debris, like you were saying, and you saw that happened just natural, you increased the liquefaction a bit of the stool occasionally. You did castor packs over the abdomen, and this is what Jubb cell rejuvenation does. You've got B12 absorption now where you didn't before, because you're actually explained how do you get B12, which most people don't even know that B12 is made in your body, and they didn't even know that 26 grams of protein is made by your intestinal flora. You see, so that's the reason why people could just live on vodka and pizza and coffee.
Okay.
They love it, and they're gluttons. They're not gluttons, excuse me, but they love to be drunk or something. But they live a long time.
So
gluttons do not live a long time. They live a long time. It could be an alcoholic, but they live a long time. You see, why? Because they're not gluttons. Gluttony is the death of yourself. Trust me.
I believe it.
Oh my God. And so B12 is returned to you. You've got red blood corpuscle, you've got DNA, and you've got a production of various things which is far more stable. And what has it gone on? You've improved microcirculation.
There we go.
Yes, so there's things that you could come in to start to learn more about where you are to actually, and we could be picking up various subject matter and things that's like this. Mm-hmm. But basically what we've really said is USP vitamins are dead, and they cannot have a proper function, which they don't. We said potassium is not sodium. Rock salt is a sodium which is highly toxic, and you have to be able to remove that from the body, and you can't really be continuously putting it in. How about having a far infrared sauna and learning about this, and far infrared lamp, but learning about far infrared, because what happens when you don't have far infrared anymore? You're turning white. Mm-hmm. You're turning ultraviolet. So when we have to take a picture of you, we can see a lot of yellow, which is jaundice, and it's all through the body. So bilirubin is not being defecated out. No, that's going into the body, and it's making a yellow patina. But slow but sure, somebody's looking more and more death-like, because why? They have no more far infrared. And why is that? Circulation, microcirculation isn't going on.
Okay.
You see?
and it's obviously being ignored.
Well, the rock salt slowly gets filled up with albumin and blocks and stops the microcirculation from passing through the capillary anymore. It makes it waterlogged because the salt pulls water to itself. So how many people would be saved that you get rid of saline bags at the hospital?
How many people?
How many people could be saved? Enormous, because it creates a massive morbidity. Septicemia and all these things only set in after that saline bag and drips have gone on. Edema only occurs after the drip bag has been used.
What?
Right. When you do albumin, is that something which is useful? No, it's not. Your liver's going to hold on to every little bit of albumin that ever gave you, that took from someone else, and it's going to create septicemia sometimes of the liver, but it's going to be challenging for your liver. It's going to hold on to all of that because it's foreign.
How do we get rid of it?
You have to raise albumin by naturally reducing the osmotic pressure of the blood. And so the Kupffer cells, see, this is all physiology. This is something that you must have understood to have a language to be able to describe. And a lot of people that I talk with, it's like, whoa. Do they have any commensurable, meaning like similar language? It's like they'd have to learn a few things. But it's important because I could learn to read. I could teach somebody how to read the body like a book, basically. So,
I can just kind of feel like when you're talking, I just kind of feel like, okay, that sounds right, you know?
The pancreas and the Brunner gland, like we were talking about, the Brunner gland and the Harderian glands. Harderian gland is around your eyes that produce melatonin during the day, and that causes your mesentery organs, which is in your mid-region, to all have proper health and have proper antioxidants, you see. And so if you're doing like a cleanse, you do this over 42 days, how useful is that? It's incredible, you see. And you've got, compliance where you are versus, a recidivism is just to go back to what you did. And most people kind of not have a proper true healing therapeutic because it's really the instruction that's being carried out afterward where, that's the true healing therapeutic, isn't it? Versus, I just went somewhere and I got acted upon, right?
So people that would say they're going to go do a detox, and it only takes 2 days, what would you say? Take 42 days?
Well, the detox pathway, engages ubiquitin toxin degradation, and it helps to clear things away and to restore. I mean, that's a job that can take a little while. Like, so for instance, mineral, most people really, as adult, are very deficient in mineral. It's going to take 7 months for them to heal up.
Wow.
You see, so though suddenly somebody could have symptom relief straight away from the habits that they do, and so you're improving and you're in remission because suddenly you're maintaining or you've reduced a symptom that you had. It's like, wow, like dizziness. Why? Because now you've got B12, whereas before you were staggering around and it was difficult to think. Why? Because you didn't have any B12. And plus, damn it, you didn't have ever any pyridoxine. That's the vitamin. That's the protein vitamin, pyridoxine, B6.
Let's say
because everything is cooked. You see.
Let's say you were creating a one-all cure-all, holistic, natural pill to cure, and you could just take it.
Yes.
How big would it be?
It'd be like a powder that would mix with your saliva,
Let's say
course.
You put it in a
rescue
pill.
remedy.
Say you put it in a pill. How big would that pill be?
No.
Is it the size of an egg?
No, it's starting with like I've worked with people who did vaccines and I helped them a little bit, but I saw that was wrong. You know what? It took me time to learn how to make sphingosine and ceramide, and find little platforms and combine things to put it and micronize it so that it was fresh as a day. It was not cooked out for 600 degrees and all this sort of stuff. You know what? I just decided I'm going to let all that language go. Did you know that a pill is like connect you to the cloud today? That's the pill. The pill is all, what connects us to the cloud. It's like, a cloud inside ourselves more. But a pill is what we got used to.
Yeah.
But you see, it's not your intention. And healing and true healing therapeutic is involving someone's intention. And the word heal is the same word for intention in the old language.
Okay.
So we've changed it to be a meaty sign, like you said. But meaty sign isn't really, you could say
You're just
commercial.
Yeah.
It's commercial.
They're just controlling traffic. Okay.
So your detox pathway is a moderate challenge, yet if you do bit by step, it's no longer a nightmare at all. You've got heat, cold, shock, protein, which you could learn more about, but these are the only substances which are in drought-resistant plants, which are the very reason why I've selected certain things, you see, to put into product. You've got new toxin, and it's coming in from food, yeah? So it's called new toxin. So we're reducing all of that when you're on live food. So you don't have lethal amounts of arsenic and cyanide accumulating. You've really got things which is ecological, and you've got a cell respiration increasing, and you've got microcirculation occurring again, and you've reduced your waste, and you've become more flexible, and now you no longer have a back condition because your hamstring and glutes have been lengthened out, and it takes all the pressure off the small of the back. Suddenly, kind of, you got your limberness, and your trunk is connected to your legs.
And yet,
most people sort of.
And yet, all that is just the beginning. It's just the beginning to your cure, which you're going to get. Because enough of this middle of the road remediation, whatever. Enough of just taking pills every day. Let's get the cure. Get your cure.
So is healing...
Heal yourself.
If healing is intention, and the word cure is to pickle or chemicalize, because when you cure a skin, so you're going to put it as a covering or something, you're going to cure the skin, you have to put arsenic in it to pickle it.
So
curing comes from the word pickling, because they only thought, we've got to kill things, and and little Germans are the ones that we've got to kill. But this is kind of really a bit wrong.
All right,
but it doesn't mean that we need antiseptic in our body.
We're looking to heal. Is that it? We're looking to heal.
The things that are in the product can give you 4 volts of energy and micronize, and it micronizes heavy metal, so you've got rid of it.
Well, let's find your heal then. Find your heal.
Well, having healed, like it would be that I have a true healing therapeutic. It means I realize, what I've done, I've corrected that by being on live food, and I've just started, and I've realized, I've got to mind the gut and to gut the mind, and so I've really focused on my digestive condition. So now I can see bite-sized chunks of things to move toward being whole again. So finally I won't need to actually do anything more digestive-wise, and I could be really working. You can see then, once that's happened, lymphatic is improving radically, and microcirculation is too.
Okay, so we're going to leave everybody with this. The simple way to get started on healing yourself. Simple way, baby step. Mind the gut and gut the mind.
Yes.
That's a great step.
Yes, it is.
Dr. Jubb, what do you want to leave us with today? Something to think about.
I would be thinking that there's so much, of course, that this can have sparked for you. But one thing I would think is where life, the sweetness is brought to life. This is why they use sage, and they, sage to home a little bit, and things like this, aromatics. Aromatic sort of causes you to change your perception, like the Jubb's Black Amber, which is unbelievable, amberine. But I would just say aromatic, meaning fragrant, hydrocarbon, really detoxification. You've got petroleum, which is a hydrocarbon, and you need to be able to detox from that. Synthetic smells aren't going to work proper. When you can smell burnt fat, that's a very serious toxin, and that creates more cancer than anything else just about. You see, it's really toxic. I mean, you can't quite break that down and get rid of it. I would say, to finish with the sweetness of life gives you pancreatic function. When some sweetness of life was lost, sort of thing, it really can have affected the pancreas. Yes? So it's really looking at feeling things more sweet and seeing that you can have healed yourself up.
What's a great thing for the pancreas that you can give yourself that, that'll help the pancreas? Lemonade?
Having mates, having good friendship, having really great capacity to keep self company will give you the longest life, because it's causing your pancreas to function the best, and it's going to cause you not to have to overdo anything, and you're always going to get information from the pancreas, sort of thing. You see?
So,
because you care about sweetness versus, I can't have any, or my life isn't, or if I crave that, or I care for this, which we do just naturally.
Are you saying feeling gratitude and appreciation will help the pancreas?
That's right, man.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, folks. See, here we'll be back, and I'm glad you all were able to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, well, you could remember to do things.
Remember to subscribe.
Somebody could remember.
That's better, right?